Hi everyone, my name is Cassandra Nadira Lee. I am an executive coach. I have two boys, they are 14 and 16 years old. I'm happily married and his name is Tengku Razman bin Tengku Osman. So I currently run my own company. It's called COMB, C-O-M-B, standing for Connecting Mind and Body. The reason why we name this COMB is because in Singapore, a lot of people use their logical brain a lot. And they forgot that they have a neck, a body, and their legs. And there's actually a lot of wisdom in using your body, because we are, after all, human beings. We are all integrated. We are all connected. So it's very important to understand that there are wisdoms, there are emotions within you. That's why we call our company COMB. Currently in our company, there's 6 of us. 4 of us are coaches and 2 of them are support staff. So our clients are mainly in Singapore as well as Indonesia. In terms of educating my 2 children, I think my husband has no say. I'm the tiger mom. No, not really. But because I think Singapore and Malaysia, we have quite a lot of similarities in terms of education. So we have actually agreed to come back to Singapore about 10 years ago for my son's education. Why? Because at that point in time, Malaysia wasn't very safe. Singapore was much safer, and for me, because I have 2 boys, I wanted them to be independent. I want them to travel to school on their own. I want them to do everything on their own. So we decided to come back to Singapore for their education. So when my 2 boys were very young, one was actually 7 years old, one was actually 9 years old, they started taking the public bus going to school. That's what I envision for them to have a good sense of independence as well as a good sense of achievement. I want to build their trust and their confidence from a very young age, and I do it by instilling independence in them. For my parents, I think they have always wanted me to be a very normal, simple girl. But too bad, I turned out to be very different. Other than following their instruction to study hard and then to take the diploma in accountancy, everything else I never listened to them. Everything else I do it my own way. Actually, what I do now in terms of coaching and consultation was never in their mind. I actually chose this path because about 21 years ago, I actually had a depression, very, very bad depression, because I joined not a very good company, and that causes me to be depressed, and it causes me to actually not be clear and not be sure of myself. And because of that, I suffer from clinical depression. I actually went to see a psychiatrist and I was given a lot of medication. But because I believe that my life shouldn't be ending with taking medication and seeing psychiatrists, I decided that I must do something different. And it was because of that I actually took part in a personal development program that turned my life around. And because of that, it was my first time knowing and understanding what the power of coaching is. And therefore, I know that coaching can also help change many people's life. From young, my parents have always instilled me about hard work. My parents are from very poor family. My mom never finished her primary school education. My dad also never finished his primary school education. Actually, my dad, which is my grandfather, passed away after he was born. So he grew up without a father. He only had to rely on his own brothers. And my mom, she grew up from a very poor family with 2 other brothers. And in her family, they didn't put a lot of emphasis on girls. So she was not allowed to study a lot, and she has to start working from very young. And because of that, both my parents met and got married, and they both are very hardworking parents. And because of them, I've learned hard work. For them, honesty and hard work are the two most important qualities. So even till I was very old, my parents were still working, and only when my mother's health was getting bad, then she stopped working. So it was something that I live up with, hard work and honesty. So one of the key values that my parents passed to me that I'm also passing down to my children is about hard work. There are many things we want in life, but everything comes with a price. Meaning, if I want this, I must sacrifice this. And it is being passed down from my parents to myself and to my children. But it's harder for my children now because they are born in a family whereby they have many, many things, right? Youngsters like you all. But it's very important to know that all these things that they have comes from the sacrifices of me and my husband. So it's also very important for them, hopefully, inshallah, soon they understand hard work. And I'm training them now because they do housework at home. Both my boys do housework. My elder son actually cooks, as well as also he folds the clothes, the baju. He folds the clothes. And my younger son is the one that hangs the baju for it to dry and brings down the baju. We don't have a live-in bibi, so our house don't have a helper. So all of us take turns to do housework. So me and my husband cooks, and then we clean, and then the boys also helps to clean. So our part-time bibi only comes once every 2 weeks. Yeah. So my two boys always pray, please, auntie, please come, please come. Because if auntie don't come, they will be the one that vacuums and mop and wash the toilet. So everyone must do housework. So inshallah, the woman who marry my two sons will be lucky. I trained already. For my parents, my message to them is for them to have a healthy and happy life. It is very hard work for them to bring me and brother up, and now they are not in good health. They are very old. One of them is 81, one of them is 77. My mom suffers from acute asthma, so she is always coughing, and she's very, very skinny. My dad has leg issues, so he can't walk very properly. And I think for them, my message to them is really for them to live the rest of their life. We don't know when they will go, but to live the rest of their life happy as well as healthy. And inshallah, they can get to say the Shahada before they pass away. I think from my observation, I don't know what's right, what's wrong, but in my observation, I find that in Singapore, most of the younger people are very privileged. We have a lot of opportunities because we are educated in English as well as a mother tongue. So there's a lot of exposure. And also the education also allows them to have a lot of opportunities. And in Singapore, also, I think because of who I mix with, I know a lot of small business owners. I also allow my children to be very exposed. Meaning, when my elder son was 12 years old, I already start him to work. I already get him to start working because I'd say 2 months of holiday, Mama cannot stand you being at home, go and work. So I have a friend who has a small little cafe, and I asked him to go and work there. So he has exposure. He has a lot of advantage, right? Meeting different people. I think another opportunity that I think in Singapore the young people have is the ability to get a lot of assistance in academic. A lot of children that I know in Singapore goes for tuition. English tuition, Chinese tuition, math tuition, science tuition. A lot of assistance in terms of studying, getting good grades. That I don't see as much in Malaysia or Indonesia, depending on which, I would say, sector, right? Depending on your family, whether your family is rich enough to afford. But in Singapore, majority of the Singapore children gets tuition. That is the most important thing for most parents for their children. But I think in Malaysia and Indonesia, depending on what family you grew up with, because Singapore is so much smaller compared to Malaysia and Indonesia, the opportunities might be different. I think it is very important for someone to be groomed in a positive environment. However, I must also say, if you have two people in the same environment, it can turn out very differently. Why? Because for person A, he or she might make use of the opportunity very positively as well as work very hard. But person B, he or she might be given the same environment but don't work hard and don't make use of the opportunity. So it might not turn out as advantageous as the first person. Yes, the environment is very important, but so is the individual's motivation as well as what his or her ambition is. So I think it is a combination between environment as well as the individual. I think it's a mixture. I don't think that's the first thing, a second thing, but I think as a leader, the most important thing is responsibility and accountability. When we understand and leader doesn't mean you are leader of a big corporation or leader of a school or leader as a politician leader. I think every one of us is a leader. This is what I call personal leadership. When every one of us understand leadership, that we have accountability, we have responsibility, it can be from the smallest thing. What am I accountable for when I'm a student? I'm accountable and responsible for my results. I'm accountable and responsible for the cleanliness of my room. If I'm sharing the room with my siblings, I need to ensure that the room is also conducive for them. That's one example. That's already what I call personal leadership. As you grow up older, you become a young adult. When you become a young adult, you first meet the society, right? When you first go out and work. When you are working, you might not know many things, but it doesn't mean you are a failure, right? It means that I am here as a personal leader. I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. So understanding that means that I am going to allow myself to be responsible, that I can fail. And when I accept that in my life as a young person, I am supposed to fail, then your understanding and your embracement of mental health will be different. Because you're not there to prove to others. You're here to embark on a leadership, personal leadership of learning. That's another type of leadership. And when we talk about leadership of a company or political leadership, that accountability, that responsibility expand. When I am in charge of my company, I'm responsible for the people that is working with me, in my team, in my organization. When I say that type of leadership, then it means several layers. The first layer could be producing results for my company. I must make sure that the company is profitable so that no one gets retrenched, no one gets to go. Second of all, if my leadership also means I need to groom another level of leaders, then I must ensure that they are being exposed to those type of environment to learn. Another thing about leadership in organization is having the sight and the understanding that different people can come together to create diversity. I think that's very important, because you don't need the same kind of people coming together, working together all the time. You need diversity. You need maybe younger people, older people, or people of different groups, different ethnic groups, different countries coming together to give you ideas. And that's where creativity and innovation comes from, diversity. So that's my so-called small little snippets of leadership. I think the essence or the qualities of a good leader, first and foremost, is the purpose and the objective of why he or she wants to be a leader. I think once the person understands, why am I being a leader? What is my purpose? What am I fulfilling? The why, the big WHY. Then it becomes clearer. Clearer in what sense? Clearer in that, okay, because my purpose is to fulfill this A, B, or C, then I will be not, how should I put it? Not waving into many things and not being very unclear. I will be able to get resources. I will also be able to get other people to come into the same objective or purpose with me. And then the game becomes bigger, right? More people are involved. Another thing I think about good leadership is honesty. Yeah, honesty is very important, because when you are being able to be honest, you actually gain trust. When you gain trust, then you realize that, well, life is full of ups and downs, right? When you are going down, that's when you need trust from others. Because trust is something whereby it takes many, many years to build. It takes minutes or seconds to lose it. So to me, having that trust with people means that it takes a lot of consistency. It doesn't mean that when you're a leader, you have power, you don't need all this trust. You still continue to build trust and expand that trust. Teach the younger leaders how to build trust. Teach the younger leaders how to gain trust. And when you gain trust and you expand within your sphere, then more and more people can benefit, just like what you are doing. Just like what Paul Salmon is doing. In Singapore, a lot of youth that I see might be having challenges in terms of getting good grades, and also at the same time, maybe they have certain challenges in terms of reducing their screen time. Like my two sons, they're always on the screen. And when they're always on the screen, it's very hard for them to learn to build relationship, learn to build communication skills. Why? You're constantly like that. You think this is your world, but this is not your world. People is your world, right? And when they're constantly on this, they also get no understanding that this, the comments, because they play social media, right? This is not real. The feedback or the comments, maybe people don't like you, people say something bad about you, it's not real. It's maybe 1% or 2% or maximum 3%. And you think this is the world. And when they think this is the world, they get affected. They get affected in their confidence, they get affected in their trust in themselves, and sometimes it becomes a more serious problem. It can become shaming, it can become bullying, right? And because they're all on social media, they can ask other people to come and comment and bully at the same time. So it becomes not an easy problem to solve. But that's because they choose to only focus on social media or the screen or play games, right? Your whole world is inside. But actually the world is extendable, it's very expandful. It's, doing something else more than you. So if you ask me, I think most of the Singapore youths is too fortunate. They are not really being integrative with the real world problem. In Singapore, we live in a bubble, right? Everybody says Singapore is a bubble. We don't live in the real world. There's so many problems, but Singaporeans don't know, right? We don't know because our government takes very good care of ourselves. So that is one problem. For Indonesia, I think what I find, my experience of Indonesian is that you are very patriotic. You love your country. Most of the Indonesians that I met, seriously, most of the Indonesians I've met, I don't know, maybe because alhamdulillah, I don't meet all the bad people, but most of the people I met in Indonesia are very patriotic. You love Indonesia, and no matter where I go, you're always talking about what can I do to improve Indonesia. And that to me, even though you're very young, you're already thinking about that. That makes a lot of difference. That makes Indonesia very different from Singapore. It means you're already starting to think, what can you do next for the next generation of Indonesia? How can a smaller group of people help with a bigger group of Indonesians? That to me is one of the biggest things I experience. Singapore and Indonesia. I think for my experience and my perspective of Indonesian is that the older generation, when I say older generation, is the 40, 50, 60 years of Indonesian, they have a lot of good connection. And that connection, if it is being used properly, can really help the younger Indonesians. When I say use, it means use for better, bigger good, not use for smaller group, right? When the Indonesians of that caliber, 40, 50, 60 years old, they use their resources, use their network, use their connection for a focus and for a common good, then I think it is very powerful, because you look at the number of population in Indonesia, it's huge, right? It's really huge. And look at some of the most successful startup in Southeast Asia is from Indonesia. Gojek, right? And your e-commerce, which Shopee, Tokopedia. All these are very, very famous as well as very successful startup, right? Tech companies. It shows that Indonesians has a lot of potential. A lot of potential. It's just that it needs to be very focused. It cannot be digression. And I think the most important thing is to stay united. Indonesians, when you stay united, I think you will be one of the most powerful country in the world. Stay focused. Stay united. I think for entrepreneur, right, I think the most important thing is that you must know what your product or your services is solving. If you are clear that your product is solving a certain gap or issue, then it makes the person, the entrepreneur, be passionate and never give up about the business, because it's so easy to give up on the business. Why? Because business is really, really tough. I'll be honest, especially in Singapore. You want to have a successful business, it's not easy. So when you are clear why you want to have your product or services solve a certain issue, it makes you have the resilience, it makes you have the hard work to want to continue. To me, the company that I run is not a big company. It's actually a very small company. And why I'm still not giving it up? Because I believe that the services that we are actually providing to companies, and inshallah, hopefully next time will be general public, is able to solve a lot of their issues. That's why I'm persisting in solving, in continuing with my business. I think first and foremost, being an employee is to understand that you have a responsibility. Why? Because your company pays you a salary. So in order to be fair to your company, you must understand, in exchange of this salary that I receive every month, what must I do? What is the company asking me? Why is the company employing me to do? And when you are clear about that, be honest in taking the salary, and at the same time be honest to fulfill the roles and responsibility. Because when you do that, and with many people coming together, you can then make the organization better as well as bigger. I think first and foremost, when the team leader or the organization understand and can recognize that certain employees is interested in being an entrepreneur, first and foremost is to give them clear KPIs. Clear KPIs. Second of all is to give them resources and opportunities for them to grow. By saying that, it doesn't mean that you give all the time, but you give them an environment whereby they are allowed to lose. They can fail. And when you give them certain resources, not banyak, not many resources, what they can do is that they can use that opportunity to grow themselves and to grow those in the team. When that happens, they then understand, oh, being an entrepreneur means I must take responsibility. When they take responsibility and when they fail and fail and fail, one day soon they will succeed. That is very important for me, from my perspective, because some companies, they give unlimited opportunities and unlimited resource, but that's not real. In the real world, you have limited opportunities and you have limited resources, and that's what an entrepreneur do. We don't have many opportunities, we don't have many resources. We learn how to manage resources, we learn how to manage our opportunities. That's how I feel. Like, for example, in Paragon, when certain employees show that they have interest to be an entrepreneur, then maybe the organization can give them that. I think one of the main difference between business leaders in big organization is that they are very objective, right? They are very clear. I'm here on a salary, right? I receive this much of salary. These are my KPIs. These are the resources I have. I can spend these resources as long as I meet these KPIs. There is no personal relationship to the goals as well as to the people in the company. So everything I make can be with the head only, not much with the heart. Whereas family business, especially in Indonesia, that I have been working with, is very different. Not only their head is involved, their heart is fully involved. Why? Because this is the business that my mother, my father, or even my grandfather and grandmother started. And I have been growing up living, eating the food that is grown by this business, right? Or my education is funded by this business. So I am fully attached to this business. So when I make a decision, or when I'm maybe leading some people, I not only use the head, I have to use my heart. And sometimes too much heart is not a good thing. You must have sensible heart, right? And the worst thing is, sometimes in family business, sometimes the brother, the sister, the cousin, the whatever are all working together. And sometimes they are the board of directors, and it becomes very a mesh, right? Personal relationship, professional relationship, all together. And when the leader do not know how to separate or keep boundaries, it becomes very sticky. Yeah, it becomes very sticky, and it's not beneficial for everybody at work, right? And when it becomes not beneficial, then the business suffer. So that's the main difference I see between actual business leaders who have no so-called personal relationship and family-owned business. That's one of the biggest difference I've seen. Yeah. For me, I think it's very, very simple. I've been blessed, alhamdulillah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a lot of experiences, with a lot of credentials, with a lot of networks. What I want to use all this for is to help people grow. When I say grow, it means to let go of their past. And in our life, we have three types of consciousness. We have full consciousness, we have subconsciousness, and we have unconsciousness. And many of us sometimes don't understand that we have a past. And when I say past, it doesn't mean, you have divorce and all this. No. Because as all of us know, we are human. All of us have youth and we have childhood. And when we are young, we might not know the full implication of what happens when we are young, and we are affected by it. So my job, or what I want to do, is to help people understand that their future need not be dictated by their past, that they can have ownership of their future, which is very different from their past, meaning that they can let go of their past, which might not be very positive, but achieve a very positive future. So that's what I want to do. They can be in leadership, they can be in entrepreneur, but it is something that I feel can make a small little difference to the world. So when a young person start a business and fail, try again. Always try again, because you are young. You have a lot of opportunities and you have a lot of time ahead of you. Never give up. If what you believe in is really what you're passionate about, for example, you have a product or you have a services that you know can help solve problems that you see and problems that you know can make a difference to someone's life, persist on it. Never give up. Learn from your past failure, from your business, and start again. That's what I believe, especially when you're young. You have nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing to lose. The first time I met Pak Salman was in Bali, and he was actually one of the guests of honor to speak at the Values 20 in Bali. Under G20, we have this Values 20. That was the first time I met him. He was on stage speaking, and I look at this man, I was like, wow, he speaks Bahasa. I don't understand a word of it. But then after that, he was introduced to me to shake hand, and I spoke to him briefly, just say hello, and then he left. But after that, when I got to know that he is the second generation business owner of a very successful company, I was like, huh? Really? Because he's very, very humble. He's very, very humble. And I was like, interesting man. So I seriously don't know whether I will meet him again in Indonesia, but down the months, I met him again in actually a retreat. We were doing a retreat together about global leadership, and he was there as a participant just like me. And he spoke very little English then. He was speaking most of the time Bahasa, and I can only speak English, so I was like, interesting man. But his assistant, Adit, was there. So Adit, I know. And then we did a communication together during the retreat, and we had quite a lot of fun. And Pak Salman came on the next day or early night, the night before the second day. And it's very interesting because it was my second time meeting him, and he was still very quiet, but yet very humble. Then my third experience of him was not about him, but about the products he sponsors. So about 3 to 4 months ago, I started going to KL to attend Islamic lectures by Faith Events. And the first lecture I attended was by Dr. Haifa Yunus. As a participant, because I pay for the ticket, I actually receive gifts, so-called door gifts, and it's by Wardar. And I was like, oh, okay, this looks familiar, but I cannot remember. Then only after I came back from KL to Singapore, I realized, oh, this Wardar is Pak Salman's Wardar. Oh, okay, then I make the connection. That was the first time that I attended the Faith Events lecture. The second time I go, I also received Warda's free gift, door gifts. I was like, huh? They're still giving? The third time I went, I received the Warda door gifts again. It was the third time. But you know what's very different is that Pak Salman keep giving all these gifts, but they did not ask for exposure, the airtime to talk about Warda. Whereas in the Faith Events, there were other sponsors and they all asked for airtime. So I was very, I was very impressed by his style of management. He give and give and give, but never ask for returns. That is really very, very astonishing. Very impressive, very impressive. Actually, when I met Pak Salman in Singapore about a few weeks ago, we talked about, doing a video. The first thing I say, yes, I can do everything for you. The only thing I want is to meet your mother. Why? To me, I've read a little bit about her and how she started the company, right? And to be able to have that vision, to start a halal skincare and cosmetic company in a very difficult situation and in not a very progressive country like Indonesia many years ago, I think it takes a lot of foresight, a lot of vision. And I do want to meet these female leaders who is a very, a very courageous woman. right? She is in her 70s. To be a woman leader at such a young age, I like to meet. I really want to learn from her. That's why I'm feeling a bit excited and nervous. To be honest, I'm a bit nervous. For me, a lot of time I actually spend is on my job. I'm actually quite a workaholic. I like to do my job. But other than that, I cook a lot for my son. Me and my husband take turns to cook at home. So we cook a lot, and then we go for walks around my house. There is actually some greenery, some mountains, small little mountains in Singapore. We actually walk a lot. Other than that, if you ask me, I like to attend what they call trainings, because I'm in the training, right? I'm in training and coaching, so I like to attend. Now I limit it to once a year, try not to go for more. But another thing that I'm interested in now is to attend Islamic lectures. That's why I've been going to KL, because it's very rare for Islamic ustazah and ustad to come to Singapore. As I told you earlier, it's very hard for them to get permit. So KL is the nearest for me to be able to travel. So I've been going there every month. So Dr. Haifa, Yasmin Moghead, then Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim, and then Sheikh Ali Muhammad. So I've been going very often. I think the most important thing is be a good person. And when I say be a good person, is to be a good Muslim. Pray, because you really don't know when is your last day and you don't know when is your last breath. So pray sincerely, ask for forgiveness, and most important, when you can, give good. Give to people around you, and give your time, give your resources, as well as give your heart. Be sincere in everything you do, and also learn to build and grow yourself. My husband, very shy, very shy. For my husband, thank you so much for meeting me and choosing me to marry you. And because of you, I became a Muslim, and that is the most beautiful gift that you have ever bestowed upon me. And I hope, inshallah, the English saying say, to death to us part, I say to Jannah till we meet. So that's hopefully, inshallah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us. I think one of the dreams that I want happen is that there is no war in the world. There's no war. There's no fighting. There's no war. There is no hunger. There is no children who suffer. Those are some of the bigger dreams that I have, that I know it will not be easily accomplished. That to me, in the world whereby we are so progressive and we have so many things, yet there is still hunger, there's still war, it's something that it's very sad for me. It's very, very sad, because we have our Second World War in the 1940s, right? And now we are in 2023. Yet there are people dying every day. So I hope and I pray sincerely that those things will stop and we can gain peace. That's something that I really, really pray for. So I would like more and more people to be interested about understanding the psychological safety of how people can work better together. And because of that, I would like to see more business leaders being able to expose their staff and expose their teams to growing beyond the logical expansion and logical performance, but understanding their emotions, understanding how team works together and how emotions actually affect one another at work. So this is something I hope I can see more of. For me, I feel that take every opportunity to learn English, because English is a platform, it's like a bridge. It's like a bridge for you to understand what the rest of the world is talking about or what the rest of the world is facing. So when you understand that common language, it allows you to also be able to understand and comprehend what other people is talking, what other people is facing. So you have a broader view. when you have a broader view, you'll be able to include all these views when you're working or when you are starting a business. That becomes a bit more progressive. That's what I think. This one must ask Pak Selma. I'm not a great entrepreneur yet. What else is in the conscious? What can you see? Very good. Actions.